Welcome to the next episode of Ministry Wisdom. We're on with Reverend Croucher, a former leader of Indiana Bible College and a great scholar from Maryville, Tennessee. I want to thank you, Brother Croucher, for joining us. I want to thank you for your time. Do you have anything you would like to say, Brother Croucher?
Yes, I was asked about my testimony. So, briefly, I would like to say I was born on December 12th, 1942, in Seymour, Indiana, where I pastored for 40. Well, actually, I pastored 42 years altogether, but 27 years in Seymour and 16 years in Marion, Indiana. That's the only two churches I ever had. I was a war baby. In 1942, my father was in the service, and I went to the Lutheran school for the primary grades 1 through 6. I enjoyed going there because it gave me an insight on Scripture. They asked us to memorize a Scripture every day, and also they taught Bible stories for a day. So in my primary years in class, I developed a love for the Scriptures. But I went to Seymour High School and graduated in 3 years. I was age 16 when I went to Bible College in St. Paul, Minnesota, the Apostolic Bible Institute. I graduated in May of 1962, and I was the youngest person at that time. I maybe still am the youngest person ever to graduate from ABI. My first church was in December of that year. It was my home church. There were 29 people that we started with, and our largest years were 700 to 800 in attendance on average. We cleared 1,000 on numerous occasions. In Sunday school, our biggest attendance was 1,305 after we got into our new building. So I was in 3 building programs in Seymour. We started off with a 100-year-old schoolhouse, abandoned schoolhouse. Quickly, we added on to that in a couple of years. And then we moved downtown, which was a great move for us. We bought the former Nazarene Church, which was the largest Nazarene church in the state, and they had built a new building. So we had 25 classrooms, seating capacity, the auditorium was 400, and then in the basement they had Sunday school rooms plus a banquet hall. The third building program was a brand new building we built on the same site, and it took us about a year and a half to build it. We paid cash for it when we retired the building program. We burnt the mortgage, and it was quite a talk around the Apostolic District because we received a donation of $310,000 from a businessman to pay off our building.
Whoa.
It only took us a couple of years, a year and a half to 2 years to finish the program, and we finished, as I said, burning the mortgage. We baptized in our ministry well over 1,000 people, and in 1980, I had the burden to begin Indiana Bible College. I approached the general board of the United Pentecostal Church. The Board of Education first turned us down, but the general board, they asked me to come in and tell my burden, and we were able to get the right to start IBC. We purchased a former high school. In fact, it's where I went to high school when I graduated. It had two gymnasiums. One gymnasium seated 5,000 people, which where the boys stayed in there, and the girls stayed in the smaller gymnasium and the rooms around that, which was the first year we had 100 students on campus, and they came from 16 different states and 2 foreign countries. The first few years was a tremendous success because Indiana Bible College was centrally located in the Midwest, and that's where the majority of our churches are, in the Midwest. Stockton out in California, we were not a challenge to them, and Tupelo was way south. So basically, we had a perfect opportunity to build this program and got the right to start it, which we really had to fight to get it started. But now, since I had the school for almost 10 years, and then we moved it to Indianapolis under Calvary Tabernacle, Paul Mooney. I called him and asked him if he would like to take the Bible college. And he said, let me pray about it. So he did, and he called me back later and told me he would like to take the Bible college. The only stipulations that I ask is they remain the name of Indiana Bible College and for us to keep our online program. We were one of the first to do an online college also on top of our campus. At that time it was not really popular, but we did tremendous work in that fraction of the building. I put somebody in charge of that. We call it the external degree program. I still have an external degree program here in Maryville, Tennessee. About 8 years ago, we started the online program called Foothills Christian College, and I'm the founder of that also. And we do quite well with the several students even yet today. So it moved in 1990 to Indianapolis, the Bible College. I became a graduate of Northgate Graduate School for a master's degree, and then I received an honorary doctorate from Paul Mooney several years after he took IBC. I taught high school. I've had classes in government, had classes here in Maryville. We have a tremendous school here in Maryville, and I was asked to teach there, and I did for a few years. And then I had the opportunity to help out starting a Spanish work, which is tremendously successful. Probably one of the best Spanish works in our country. I've been helping the pastor there. His name is Martin Luna. He is Spanish, and we have just had a tremendous revival there, and I preach there every other week on Sundays. And the rest of the time I either preach out or I still stay close to home here in Maryville, Tennessee. The Spanish work, is just such a success because the Spanish love to feel wanted and needed, and I helped the pastor there because he was inexperienced, and he asked me if I would continue to help him. I'm 77 years old at this time, and I don't believe in retirement for the ministry. I believe we are to minister as long as we are physically and mentally capable of doing so. Now, another question you had about what can a young person do to prepare himself for the ministry. I am absolutely in agreement of probably the best thing that they could do is get on a online Bible college course. And of course, Foothills Christian College, we do have that, and we have 30 courses. And we have an associate's degree, which is 60 credits, and then we have a bachelor's, which is another 60 credits after the associate's degree. And we now have the master's program, which is another 40 credits past the bachelor's. And to make this sure that everybody can get on this program, it's each degree only costs $1,695. So you could basically get an associate's, bachelor's, and master's for each one of those at $1,695. Like we also give lifetime credits for pastors. I've had several district superintendents that are involved in taking the course. A lot of young preachers who cannot go to Bible college. Of course, now this is one of the most popular things that most every college has, an online degree program. You also asked me about two people that had the greatest influence in my life. Well, there is no question that Reverend S.G. Norris, who is the founder of the Apostolic Bible Institute in St. Paul, Minnesota, which I think he is the finest and the best teacher that Pentecost has ever had. And I've heard the best of the teachers, but S.G. Norris probably did more good for the Pentecostal movement than any one person that I know of. Excellent teacher in Revelation, excellent in Old Testament survey. You couldn't beat the education that you got there. And Brother Norris dedicated both of our churches in Seymour. And, he knew that I was young when I left there. He wasn't even able to know my name. He always called me Carruthers. But after several years went by of pastoring, he conversed with me on several occasions and wanted me to come and talk to the students at ABI. And I did so. Brother Norris died at 90 years of age. The second person that had the most influence in my life was Nathaniel Urson, who was the pastor of Calvary Tabernacle in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I was in the same section 5, as being pastor at Seymour and him being pastor at Indianapolis. So I was the secretary of the section for a number of years, and finally I got to be the district secretary after he left and went to headquarters. Brother Urson left and went to headquarters. I became the district secretary treasurer of the Indiana district. I had several things that I have worked through. I had the editorship of the Indiana Apostolic Trumpet for a number of years until I got to be the district secretary. I worked in the Sunday school department for years. I worked in the youth department. And I was able to travel the world and helping set up youth corps programs. I've traveled to 60 countries around the world. I have Also been to the nation of Israel 42 times.
Wow.
I have taken over 800 people to Israel through the years. I first started in 1964. My church sent my wife and I to Israel, and I've gone sometimes every year, sometimes a couple times a year. In fact, I'm going next month. In March the 26th, I'm going to take a group of 23 people. But Brother Nathaniel Urshan he was not the great teacher that Brother Norris was, but he was a tremendous speaker. He was very intelligent, very smart, dressed to fit to kill. He just was an excellent and a very handsome man. We always said that he was tall, dark, and handsome. And of course he was. He was the General Superintendent of the United Pentecostal Church for, I'm sure, well over 20 years until he retired. So those were the two main people that had influence in my life.